You're listening to Leadership Loading, a podcast that inspires leaders to be continuous learners and provides insight for those making the leap from the front line to the boardroom. My name is Jason McLaren, and I'm an Air Force firefighter veteran and safety expert turned entrepreneur and nonprofit director. I'm sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their leadership traits and lessons they have learned that can make an impact on future leaders. Hey everyone, this is the Leadership Loading Podcast. I'm the host, Jason McLaren. Today, my guest is Jason Goggins, right?
Yep, you got it.
And we're going to talk about fitness and leadership and a few other things that's going on, especially with what's going on in the climate today. So Jason, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me here. And I've been in the health and fitness space for about 20 years. And I was a gym owner for most of that time. I've owned different kinds of gyms, one-on-one personal training. I've owned boot camps. I owned a CrossFit gym most recently and sold that a couple of years ago. And I've dedicated my whole life to helping people with health, fitness, and nutrition and things like that. And it's a big passion of mine. And it's awesome to be on a show about leadership because I think there's a direct correlation between fitness and leadership. So I'm excited for the conversation.
Definitely. I think, I'll admit I'm not a good fitness guy. I don't work out. I think I get enough steps in when I'm doing my site visits for clients that, I'm like, that's enough for me.
Right.
But, I definitely see, some very successful leaders are the ones that, you see them on the treadmill. You see Mark Cuban doing interviews and he's on the treadmill. You see, all these other billionaires, millionaires, out there, and they're always working out, keeping in shape. So, anything, I guess feeding off of that, why is it important to be in fitness when you're a leader?
Well, first and foremost, I think to be a great leader and having owned gyms and had, a bunch of staff working for me and being a leader in many different ways, as well as a leader of a household. I think we forget about, we think about leadership in terms of leading a business or a team, but you're also the leader of your household a lot of the time. So, to be a great leader, I think you've got to learn to lead yourself first, right? If you can't lead yourself, then you're going to have a really hard time leading others. And if nothing else, having others follow you. And I think one of the best ways to learn to lead yourself is through fitness. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think first and foremost, fitness is a very simple place to start. And I don't mean easy when I say simple, but it's a simple place to start. You don't need much to get started with health, fitness, and nutrition. But the qualities it cultivates within you, and we'll review some of those as the interview progresses, but the qualities that taking care of yourself and being fit and being strong, that it breathes and cultivates within you, translates directly to your ability to lead other people. And I think it's very, very difficult to lead others until you learn to lead yourself. And again, there's a lot of ways to lead yourself. And I'm not here telling you fitness is the only way. I'm just telling you it is a simple way to get started with that process.
Yeah, I think one thing I've told my wife this before, when I was in the military, you'd see the guy that's leading the fitness, like some of our departments had, everyday fitness requirements. And then since I was a firefighter, we had to work out every day, but also twice a week, I believe it was, we had to go to like the whole squadron wide workout. And I told her, I was like, it wasn't very leadership like when the guy that was up there telling you what to do was the one that was the overweight guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And he's like, okay, today's the push up, today's workout's going to be the push up, and then you get down and he's sitting there just walking around telling you, counting out for you.
Yeah. And to take that a step further, that guy's leading a fitness conversation, which, is a different level of he needs to be fit or she needs to be fit. But I think the same applies. And this is stuff people don't always want to hear and they don't want to accept, but we can't escape reality. And, if you picture the guy or girl that walks into a room, whether it's, in a business meeting or at the office in general, and you see that guy or girl and they take care of themselves. And I don't mean they have to be ripped to shreds. That's a different level, but they take care of themselves. You can tell that they put effort into their fitness and appearance, and it immediately initiates a different feeling from the team than somebody who's overweight and maybe a little bit sloppy. And not that overweight people have to be sloppy. I don't mean that. It's an either or kind of thing. But if you're overweight, it is a different feeling when you walk in the room than somebody who takes care of themselves. And we can try to escape that fact if we want to. That's not a personal judgment on anybody. It doesn't mean that the person that's overweight is a bad person by any stretch of the imagination. But, we can talk real or we can beat around the bush. But at the end of the day, think about times in your life where that man or woman has walked in the room and they're fit and they're lean and they take care of themselves. One is you have a different feeling when they walk in the room, first of all. Secondly is you automatically immediately know something about that person. You know that they have discipline. You know that they have mental toughness. You know that they have confidence, because that same guy or girl that walks in the room who is fit, they walk in the room with a different vibe sometimes. Their chin is held higher, their chest is out more. They have a different air of confidence around them, about them. And now you're dealing with a leader who is disciplined, mentally tough, and confident. And that's going to elicit a different response from the team than somebody who's the opposite.
Yeah, and I was reading an article not too long ago, and it was a first sergeant, and he was talking about how he worked for one of the generals, and the general didn't eat all day, he said, or he thought the general didn't eat because he was, maintaining his fitness and that sort of thing. And, he would do his daily rounds and go say hi to the troops and that sort of thing. He said, so he's like, I'm trying to be like this general and I'm not eating all day, and then he found out, oh, well, the general had like pretzels and stuff stuck in his desk, nuts and pretzels, those healthy type foods.
Right.
And, even though he's out all day, mingling with the troops, I thought that was funny. He's like, I'm trying to be like this general, and just not eat, but really he was just snacking all day and the healthy snacks.
That I want to ask you a question about that, because you have a military background and I don't. And how many generals do you know in the military that are overweight?
Not a lot.
And that's not a coincidence. And I don't have firsthand knowledge of that. I just know what I see, the generals, they're on TV, not TV shows, but like the real generals that are on the news and stuff, they're very rarely overweight. I don't know that I've ever seen one. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think and that's where the translation from fitness to leadership comes in that the same discipline it takes to take care of yourself physically is the same discipline required to be a great leader. And then great leaders tend to rise to the top like generals.
Yeah, and then even we say generals, that's the top of the top. But even when I was in Airman Leadership School, they told us every day, we're going to let you go an hour early, but you need to go practice your volleyball, because at the end of your class, you're going to play the Chiefs in volleyball. And of course, we're all like in our 20s, and we're like, the Chiefs are all, up there, 40s, 50s. And we're like, we'll whoop them. And so we're leaving early and we're going home and we're doing our whatever. Well, sure enough, the last week of our school, we were put, on the volleyball court with these Chiefs, and they just whooped us, man, because that's all they did. They went and worked out every day on their lunch break or after work, and they, and they were a team, so it kind of reinforced that teamwork mentality, but also the fitness mentality that,
sure,
if you're not a team and not in shape, you're not going to win, even if you're the younger guy. So
absolutely, yeah, that's a great story.
What about fat loss? Say we're trying to get in shape, and I'm a leader of a team and I'm trying to, do my best and get down some pounds. What can I do?
Yeah, so there's a few universal truths when it comes to fat loss. And at the end of the day, the top universal truth, if I had to build a fat loss pyramid, the foundation of that pyramid that everything else needs to be built upon is being in a consistent caloric deficit. We have to burn more calories than we consume. And without that being in place, it is physically impossible to lose weight. And it's the law of thermodynamics. It's something we can't escape. It is the only mostly universally accepted fact when it comes to nutrition and fat loss. You get a few outliers out there that refuse to believe it, usually because they have a product to sell that, kind of goes against it. But at the end of the day, any reputable nutritionist, nutrition coach of any kind knows that being in a consistent caloric deficit is the most important thing. That doesn't mean it's the only thing that matters. It means it is the most important thing. It is the thing that needs to be at the forefront of what you do. And that is, my industry is riddled with dogma. And you get a lot of people saying that, keto is the only way to go, or intermittent fasting is the only way to go, or this kind of workout is the best workout for fat loss. There is no dogma. The only universal truth is we need to be in a caloric deficit. Where the individuality comes in is when you talk about how to establish that caloric deficit. And there are so many different ways to go about it. You know, if you want to talk about your fad diets like keto and intermittent fasting, I'm not against those things by any means. But I will tell you that any weight that is lost via a fad diet is lost because it helped you establish a caloric deficit. So what we have to do is say, okay, fine, I've got to be in a consistent, and that's the key word, consistent caloric deficit to lose weight. Now it is coming upon me or a coach that I may hire to help me find the way that I can do that in a way that fits my lifestyle and my preferences, so I'm able to be consistent. Because see, if I come to you, Jason, and I say, hey, you know, the ketogenic diet is a great way to be in a caloric deficit and you're going to lose a bunch of weight, but you love carbohydrates and you can't imagine going months without eating them, then that is not the right approach for you. Now we have to find another approach. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't like breakfast, and now we try intermittent fasting. Or maybe you're somebody who likes, you know, you like numbers and you want to track your calories manually. You know, maybe we try calorie tracking. There's a lot of different ways to skin that cat. But at the end of the day, we got to find a way that gets you in a consistent caloric deficit in a way that you can maintain for the long haul until your goal is accomplished. And that is going to look different for everybody. And that's the nutrition side of things. On the fitness side or the exercise side, it's very similar. You know, to use a similar analogy as I use with the nutrition, you know, let's say that I came to you and said, hey, you know, CrossFit is the best way to get fit. And you hate CrossFit. Well, how long are you really going to last doing CrossFit? It's not going to last very long. The day is going to come where you're going to be like, forget this. I'm not getting out of bed to go do that. That was miserable. And we have to find a way of exercising that you enjoy. And it might be playing volleyball to piggyback on the story you just told, or it might be another sport, or it might be running, or it might be weight training, or it might be CrossFit, or it might be a boot camp or a class or a Pilates or yoga. There's a lot of different ways to do both nutrition and exercise. And our goal is to say, how can we exercise in a way? This is a three-pronged approach here. I'm going to hit all three. Exercise in a way we enjoy and can do consistently. Eat in a way that establishes a caloric deficit, but also that we can maintain for the long haul. And then the last piece is the piece most people miss. And when we talk about fat loss, you get a lot of people who, you know, we intuitively know, or we've been taught to look at nutrition and fitness, nutrition and exercise. And those are two important pieces for sure. But there's also, and you touched on this, you know, about, being on your job sites and such, but is the movement outside of exercise is so powerful. You know, we have become a very sedentary society, and we sit a lot. You know, we lay in our beds while we sleep. We get up, we get in our cars, we drive, we get to the office, we sit at the desk. And oh, by the way, getting from our car to our desk, we take the escalator or elevator. We can't even walk the stairs anymore. We sit at our desk all day. We get back in our car, we drive home, we come home, we sit on the couch, we go upstairs or go to our bedroom, we lay down, and we sit and lay all day long. And then if you are dedicated to working out, we think we're going to offset all of that sitting by a 30, 45 minute, 1 hour workout. And you're just not going to offset 16 hours of sitting with a short workout. So the three things we have to get working concurrently together, or a nutrition plan that works for you and establishes that deficit, an exercise plan that you enjoy and can stick with, and a way to get you moving more throughout the day to really capitalize on that caloric output. Because listen, you can have 40% of your calories burned through movement that doesn't include exercise. And typically only 10% of your caloric output comes from exercise. So getting those three things working together in a way that fits your life and your preferences is the key to establishing long-term fat loss.
Definitely. So that kind of goes to my next question. Tell me about being a police officer and trying to maintain your weight.
Yeah, so I was a police officer for years, and I'm not anymore. I left that to open my first gym many years ago. But that was a tough battle, and I'll tell you why. And you see police officers who are overweight more than we should be. And again, there's probably different reasons for that. But one of the reasons is it is such a demanding job if you work in a busy area. I know when I left the police academy, I was in pretty good shape. And I went to a shift that was very busy. It was 3 p.m. in the afternoon until 11 at night. And that, I live in the metro Atlanta area, and that's a very busy time traffic wise. You're going call to call to call. And, the restaurants are pretty generous to cops. A lot of times they offer discounted food, sometimes free food, and it's never the healthy stuff. And you find yourself in this lifestyle of hitting drive-throughs because you're in a hurry, or, popping into a fast food place to get a good deal on the food. And next thing you know, you put on weight. And I did. I gained quite a bit of weight my first couple of years of being a police officer. And that's what springboarded me into what I do now is, and I told the story on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, but I was actually on a call where there was six about 18-year-old kids were burglarizing a house. And we happened to pull up right as they were running out of the house. And of course they scattered in six different directions. And I zeroed in on one and started a foot chase with the person. Now I was at the time 25, but I bet I was 30 pounds overweight at the time. And our cars have cameras on them that point out the front of the windshield. You've probably seen that before. And when I went back and watched the video of me running after this guy, it was the first time reality slapped me in the face of, oh my gosh, things have gotten bad. And I'm chasing this guy, and I finally caught him by luck. And it's because he went up a hill and stumbled back down and just kind of fell into my lap. Well, I went to talk on my radio and tell dispatch that I'd gotten the guy in custody, and I couldn't speak. I was so out of breath. I could not speak, which is a very dangerous situation because all the other officers were in other areas chasing the perpetrators. I had nobody around me. Luckily, this guy was little and he didn't put up a fight. Had he, I would have been in a lot of trouble. And that was one of my wake-up calls. And then, there was another, around that time period where I was sitting on my couch and looked down and realized that my gut was poking out. And that was really the first day of the rest of my life was something's got to change. Because one, it's dangerous for my job. But number two is I just don't like looking or feeling this way. I was young and single, and it was unacceptable. So that's where my fitness journey started. And I began exercising. I didn't really know what I was doing back then. I was just following what the magazine said. And, I lost quite a bit of weight. I got down to 178 pounds and I was I was about 220, I think, when I started. And that's what started my journey, because people started coming to me like, that's a huge transformation. And like, what are you doing? And I really didn't know at the time, this was many years ago, what I was doing. I just kind of started telling people what I was doing, and that built into me training people. And then one day I realized I love training. I love fitness. I don't love police work like I thought I would. And I opened my first gym, and the rest is history. But that's how we got where we're at today.
Awesome. So any general leadership tips for the listeners?
Yeah. And again, I'll connect this back to fitness because that's, the topic we're going for today. But listen, having, owned many businesses myself and had to lead teams for many, many years, I will tell you, there is nothing more powerful than a confident leader, right? Somebody who's self-assured, who has decisiveness, right? Can make decisions when it's time to step up and make decisions. That's after obviously consulting your team and getting input, but making decisive decisions, and that all is based on confidence. And that's why I'm such a fan of using fitness to help bolster that, because at the end of the day, a leader who is fit, here's a few qualities that a fit leader has. And you can decide, the listeners can decide for themselves whether or not these will be beneficial in leadership. But, somebody who exercises is an energetic leader, right? A great way to have energy is to take care of your health and fitness, eat better, move your body. That usually translates to sleeping better. Imagine an energetic leader who comes in the office or wherever your team is led is confident, chest is out, chin's held high, right? That again elicits a different response from your team. Well, fitness can give you that feeling of confidence, because not only is it how you look, but you also have the knowledge when you take care of yourself of knowing, I went to the gym today and did something that 95% of the population won't do, right? That in and of itself, the discipline required for that boosts your confidence. So now you got an energetic leader who's confident. Now when you have energy, you're more focused. Right now, you got a focused, energetic, confident leader, or those personalities are within yourself, right? And the discipline that we spoke of as well. Well, typically, that kind of leader is going to be more patient, more understanding. Now you got a patient leader. And then last but not least, and I think this is a really big deal for most leaders, especially in the days and times we're in right now, is the way that fitness builds your mental toughness. And I think it takes copious amounts of mental toughness to be a great leader, because I know leading my gyms, things weren't always running smooth. You know, we had down times, we had tough times, we had lean times, we had moments where I didn't think we were going to make it, and you're scraping together any amount of money you can to keep the business alive, especially in my early days. And if you don't have mental toughness, here's what's going to happen. Your people are going to feel that from you. And we look to leaders to steady us, right? We look to leaders to calm us. We look to leaders for answers. And if you don't have that mental toughness and that emotional resiliency to battle through the tough times, then your team's going to see you panicking. They're going to see you stressed. They're going to read and feel your anxiety, and it's going to trickle down into them, and it's going to affect their ability to perform at their highest standards. So when you take care of yourself physically, and again, I want to reiterate, this doesn't mean you have to be a bodybuilder ripped on stage. That's not what fitness is. Fitness is just feeling good about yourself, having confidence, liking what's staring back at you in the mirror, right? The energy that ensues from that, that's what fitness is. I'm not talking about being ripped, but when you have those qualities, and you have the discipline to hit the gym and eat well, which is not easy. Eating well is not easy. That mental toughness that is built from that translates directly into your leadership. And those are amazing leadership qualities to have. And I promise you, your team will see that, read that, respond to that, and it will trickle down to them, not only in their job performance, but you'd be surprised how many of them start taking care of themselves better because you're leading the pack in that way. So I encourage anyone who is a leader in any form to at least start paying some attention to your health and fitness, because I think you'll be blown away with the transformation it has, not just physically, but mentally, and therefore your ability to lead your people.
Definitely. Some of that goes back to an episode we did a few weeks ago on reflection, leadership and reflection, and being a resilient leader. Working out can help you release some of that stress like you talked about, and help you lead better, because it's going to be stressful during your work day. And so being able to go and do your workouts or whatever your fitness routine is and get some of that stress out, it's going to help you the next day and manage your people. So.
Absolutely. Completely agree with that.
Good deal. All right. So how can we find you?
Yeah. So I do online nutrition and fitness coaching now. That's what I moved into. I don't own gyms anymore. So I coach people all over the world. And if you want more information on what I do, you can go to jasongogginsfitness.com. That's JASONGOGGANS fitness.com. And every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the calendar, I run a free 7-day fat loss challenge. It's run through Facebook, and it is my way of teaching people the fundamentals of fat loss, the scientifically proven, evidence-based fundamentals of fat loss. And I emphasize those words because there's so much misinformation out there, and there's so many gimmicks, the fads and such. And in that 7-day challenge, we break through all of that. I present the science of fat loss in a very understandable and enjoyable way. And it's just my way of teaching people how to take that information and begin their own fat loss journey, but do so with the confidence of knowing they're doing it the most scientifically proven, up-to-date way. And that way they know that they're doing things the way they should be doing them, and not just kind of swaying in the wind, hoping and praying that they're taking the right approach. So you can access that challenge by going to jasongogginsfitness.com. And then also you can find me on social media. On Facebook, it's just Jason Goggins. And I do most of my posting and informational stuff through my personal profile there.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Jason.
Absolutely, Jason. I appreciate you having me, man. It was a pleasure.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the Leadership Loading Podcast. You can support this podcast on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/leadershiploading to get access to exclusive content, chats, and a whole lot more. Again, that's patreon.com/leadershiploading, or visit our website, leadershiploading.com, for more options.